Well, guys, welcome to this new episode of the Aranzamendi podcast. We have some breaking news for you. This is getting interesting, guys. Breaking news. Marjorie Taylor Greene, out of all people, totally unexpected. Marjorie Taylor Greene is throwing punches, but not at the Democrats. She's actually throwing punches at Donald Trump and her own party, Republicans. She's telling Donald Trump, I am not your slave. Oh my God, where did this come from? What is going on? So anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. As you know, my name is Daniel Aranzamendi. This is the Aranzamendi podcast. I hope you guys are doing fine today. We have some breaking news that actually everybody's talking about. You know that we have a shutdown, government shutdown. Obviously, everybody's aware of it. It's a disaster. There doesn't seem to be any solution, like at least no immediate solution to it. We know this is completely stuck. Democrats are demanding that we extend ACA subsidies so that all the Obamacare, options and even private healthcare options just don't skyrocket, doubling, tripling, even quadrupling. We have all the reports. We know it's going to be a disaster. But then Republicans are saying, no, this is not about that. They just want to give healthcare to, illegals, yada, yada, yada. We know what the debate is. But all of a sudden, Marjorie Taylor Greene, guys, completely unexpected. Marjorie Taylor Greene is coming out and throwing punches and saying that this is just wrong. She is breaking with the party completely at this time, that she admits that healthcare is going to skyrocket, that her kids are not going to be able to at least have healthcare, at least not at the premiums that she's paying right now. She's saying that prices are going to double or even triple. And this honestly caught me by surprise. I was not expecting this from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Why? Because, I'm going to get to that in a second, but the first thing that came to mind was that they have chaos going on right now. The Republican Party, Donald Trump has chaos. From the Epstein file scandal to exploding healthcare costs right now, that everybody, including Republicans, now Marjorie Taylor Greene, are warning that's what's going to happen. The Republican Party is just collapsing under the weight of its own corruption and greed. Even she, Marjorie Taylor Greene, has gone nuclear, openly warning millions will lose healthcare if her own party just doesn't stop this, if they don't extend the ACA subsidies they voted to kill. And this is what happens. This is the sad part, because now she's campaigning for this, but this is what happens when lies, when loyalty tests, or even billionaire donors take priority over real people, real hardworking, everyday, middle class, or even financially challenged Americans, which this government doesn't seem to be, working for. They're working against, actually, the vast majority of Americans. Let's say the 99%, the remaining 99%, because we know they're working for the 1%. But right now, the mask is just slipping, and Americans are paying the price. So let's go to the video. I want you to listen to what Marjorie Taylor Greene had to say right now about this whole thing. Let's play the video and we'll be right back. I have another video for you from or by Brian Tyler Cohen. Great video. Also about Marjorie Taylor Greene, a different quote and things that, just something extra, something different she said, not the video I'm going to show you right now. So stay tuned also for that video from Brian Tyler Cohen a little bit later. So let's listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene and we'll be right back.
Whether we're Democrats or Republicans, people right now are looking at everything through their wallet and their bank account, and they're going, the price of food has not gone down. They're saying rent has not gone down. Houses are still unaffordable. And now health insurance premiums are going to hike, whether you're on the ACA or having private insurance as well. They're literally going to go up for everyone. And I don't really care about the drama up here. I could care less. I really think we got to fix this issue. I certainly support the president, but I'm not, what would be the right way to say it? I'm not some sort of blind slave to the president.
Andate. Wow, did you guys hear that? She just said, I'm not a blind slave to the president of the United States. That says a lot, because I'm going to say this. it really takes some courage, even though a lot of people think she's playing politics, that she's not being honest, and we're going to talk about that in a second. I do believe that it does take courage to come out and oppose Trump and say that you're going to vote in favor of releasing the Epstein files, or even in this case saying like, hey, everything is up, house prices are up, groceries are up, food prices are up, things are not getting better, and people know it. Rent is not going down. So at least she's saying something that is true, and we need more people saying these things.
I don't think anyone should be. I serve in Congress. We're a separate branch of the government, and I'm not elected by the president. I'm not elected by anyone that works in the White House. I'm elected by my district.
This is a very important point too. We're gonna finish that video, but I want to make a quick, pause here. She's saying that we're a separate branch of government. It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't seem like they are a separate branch of government. We know that right now, everything that they've been doing has been pretty much rubber stamping everything that Trump is asking for. And to have somebody right now, at least one Republican, at least one coming out and saying, you know what, I'm not on board on this, with this. I'm not on board with raising or skyrocketing healthcare prices. I know house prices are not getting any better. Rent prices are not getting or going any lower. I know the economy is not doing good. Food prices are still high. So she's literally questioning to her own party, what the fuck are we doing? What the hell are we doing that we're not just delivering? We promise a lot, but apparently we're not delivering. That's literally what she is saying here to her own party. This is not some liberal, radical leftist, Marxist criticizing Donald Trump. This is Marjorie effing Taylor Greene, who at some point, some people were even floating around to become a vice presidential candidate back in the day, when Trump was about to choose a candidate. And she actually campaigned hard to become that person. At that point, she was obviously 100% on board with Trump and being quite radical and pandering, just catering to the base. But now, all of a sudden, I'm not sure if she just grew a conscience, overnight, or grew a spine overnight, but she's saying a couple of things that are very, very true. And this one is very important. The fact that we need Congress to step up, what the hell happened? That they're not able to tell Trump. Like I saw Bill Maher recently. You guys probably watched this clip recently. One of his recent shows, he was saying, hey, I want you Republicans. I think Nancy Mace was on that show just probably like a week ago or so. And he was saying, I want Republicans to at least once, just one time, to tell Trump, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this because we're a separate branch of government. We're not going to do this because we still are a country of law and order, a country of laws. And Mr. President, we would like to back you up on this, but we can't. Why? Because we have to follow the law. And he said that that's what he was calling for. Do it just once so that he understands that he's not all powerful, that he's going to get his way, every single time. Just once. And I agree with Bill Maher. Do it at least just once. So at least we have now Marjorie Taylor Greene, one Republican at least, saying, hey, we're a separate branch of government and we don't have to be blind slaves to the president. Yeah, I support him. I like him. Everything is fun and games with Trump. But right now we need to go in a different direction. And as much as I really don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and we're going to get to that in a second, this is a good thing. This is a good thing, and we have to share this video. If you can, please share this episode because more people have to listen to this message that she's just, openly sharing right now. So let's continue watching the video and we'll be right back.
That's who I work for. And I got elected without the president's endorsement. And, I think that has served me really well. So I get to be independent as a Republican. And I think what helps him the most is when he has people that are willing to be honest with him and not just tell him what they think he wants to hear. And what I would say right now is to the president, and I think he already knows it based on things I've heard him say, is we have a serious situation with health insurance in this country. And I would love to see him come up with a solution. I would love to see, with everybody that works in this town, come up with a solution. And I would love to see Washington, D.C. and the government actually serve the American people for once.
I mean, it feels like...
Wow, she is literally saying the president has to hear sometimes things that may be difficult that other people don't want to tell him. And we know that, Trump has surrounded himself. Look at Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi just made a fool of herself before Congress recently in a hearing, when you have Caroline Leavitt in the White House claiming that this is the most transparent government ever, the most transparent administration ever. And you have literally Pam Bondi sitting before Congress in a hearing, a very important hearing. They have to obviously hold the DOJ accountable, so they are entitled by constitutional, based on the Constitution, they are entitled to question her, to just investigate, to make sure that things are, lawful. And I don't know how many times it was. I think it was Jimmy Kimmel that showed a video. He shared a video of how many times Pam Bondi was responding to every single Democrat, including some Republicans, but primarily Democrats, saying, oh, I don't know that. No, I'm not going to share that with you. I'm not going to say anything about ongoing cases. I'm not going to tell you anything about that case. I'm not going to say anything about Tom Homan. I'm not going to say anything about the Epstein files. She refused to answer literally 100% of all the questions that the opposing party, which, number one, is still relevant and still has constitutional power and authority to actually subpoena people and to question, and they are part of committees that are legal and authorized to actually investigate. And I think it was Senator Durbin, I think it was, who told her, you may not want to answer now, but I assure you that eventually you will have to. And that was a very, good line right there, because right now, maybe she just feels powerful and enabled because Donald Trump is, who knows, maybe behind the scenes, Trump has told her, don't say anything, I got you. Even if somebody were to try to accuse you in the future, I will pardon you. Once I'm on my way out, you'll be fine. Just do what you have to do. Do what you're told to do. Because we know Donald Trump obviously is controlling Pam Bondi. There's absolutely no independence between the White House and the DOJ under this administration. This is the first time in history that we've seen such a blatant, such an open disregard for the DOJ's independence. This is the same party that went bonkers when I think it was Bill Clinton ran into his Bill Clinton, when he was not even president anymore, ran into the attorney general in some airport and like around the runway or something. And they went bonkers. They went bonkers for days or weeks, claiming that there was some sort of like conspiracy, that how a president was, so careless and ignorant that he would just stand there and have this conversation, that they were maybe planning something, whatever. That was just a single conversation, coincidentally happened in an airport, and they went crazy. That was totally unacceptable. Now you have Donald Trump holding press conferences in the Department of Justice, next to Pam Bondi, next to, I don't know who else was there, telling her, these are my political enemies and you need to prosecute these people. These people hurt me a lot. I'm so hurt, I'm right now hurting a lot because these people persecuted me. They were weaponizing the agencies, the DOJ, the FBI. And I need you to, just do this for me, okay? I need you to do this solid, take one for the team and do this for me. And Pam Bondi, he even called her out on social media, that now there's new reporting. Go and check it out. There's new reporting saying that message from Donald Trump on Truth Social, telling Pam Bondi, hey, I hear that there's a lot of talk, a lot of things, on the media and here, there, but there's little to no action. We need to take action against Comey and against, Letitia James, whoever. He mentioned a couple of people. And he literally called her out on social media, telling her, you need to get moving. And literally within 2 or 3 days, the the attorney, the prosecutor they had on the case, which was a career attorney who refused to prosecute James Comey, alongside a team of prosecutors who all joined forces, and they signed some letter saying like, hey, we shouldn't prosecute this guy because there is little to no evidence here. And Trump said, you need to resign or I'm going to fire you. And he ended up saying that he fired this guy. Pam Bondi immediately named Halligan, Lindsay Halligan? I know his Halligan. I forgot the name. Halligan. Halligan was Trump's own lawyer during the classified documents case back in Florida, Mar-a-Lago. And she was part of that team of lawyers working on behalf of the president. So she was Trump's own personal lawyer. And now she was the one named, and she has absolutely zero experience prosecuting cases in court. And she was named, and magically within 2 days, she had already some indictment ready for the grand jury, and moving ahead with charges for James Comey. So or against James Comey. So obviously this is not looking good. That independence is completely out the window. So they were before criticizing Clinton just for meeting this person, saying some stuff. Nobody ever knew what they talked about. There was at least no proof of any wrongdoing or any conspiracy to somehow go after Republicans or whatever. But now we have Donald Trump literally and openly saying, we need to punish my political enemies. And Republicans just, they don't give a shit right now. But anyway, you saw the video, you heard Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was talking about healthcare costs and how that's going to skyrocket and how it's going to affect even her own family, that her kids are going to have now, it's going to cost her maybe double, if not more, and that things are not good when it comes to the economy. But the thing here is that Marjorie Taylor Greene forgets that she was part of the situation that brought us here. Remember the big, beautiful bill that everybody was telling us that it was going to be a bad thing? The bill is the major tax plus spending plus reconciliation package that aligns with, with President Trump's agenda. And then it passed in the House by a very narrow margin, 215 to 214. So just by one vote in May of 2025. I think if I'm not, I don't know who was that deciding vote. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It just passed by the House by just one vote in May of 2025. And it was that bill, the big, beautiful bill, that literally brought us here. So can someone explain to me, as if I were a 5-year-old, how the hell you vote for a bill that everybody and their mother warned would affect healthcare? That it would cut 60 million people, off Medicaid. It would close hospitals, especially rural hospitals. Right now, Puerto Rico, where I'm from, Puerto Rico, it's literally warning. They have the medical, community and organizations down there warning that like at least half of the countries in Puerto Rico, half of the hospitals in Puerto Rico will close next year if something doesn't change. And we know this is going to happen all over the nation here, obviously in the States. But anyway, everybody warned us that this would affect healthcare, that this would cut at least 16 million people from Medicaid. It would close hospitals, that it would raise premiums for people, obviously, on the Obamacare, on the ACA marketplace, but also even for private healthcare. Premiums would rise because, it would affect the balance of everything. If hospitals have to assume all the costs of all the people that are gonna, go there because now they don't have access to hospitals because they closed, or to healthcare because they were kicked off, these people are gonna wait until they're very sick and finally go to the ER. And who do you think is gonna foot the bill? Who do you think eventually is gonna end up paying for all of this? So we knew what was gonna happen. So how is Marjorie Taylor Greene able to suddenly, instantly, overnight champion opposing the increasing healthcare prices when she was part of the Republicans voting in favor of the big, beautiful bill that brought us here in the first place? The one big, beautiful bill, This included significant cuts and changes to Medicaid and to healthcare insurance subsidies, which everybody knows as Obamacare. The Congressional Budget Office, this is a sad part because anytime these things are analyzed or discussed or debated, Republicans try to, reframe it or spin it and saying, oh, they want to help, migrants, illegals to get health care. This is what they want to do. They want to open the borders. And, they go to the extremes. And then the real details about what is at hand, that, what matters in a conflict, people just don't learn about that, or they don't hear enough about that. But the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, which is a very nonpartisan office and team of people, in Congress, CBO estimated that at least 11 million people, Americans, would lose health care if they passed the big beautiful bill. Not to mention that it would obviously increase the deficit, that people would lose SNAP benefits, so food, that even Medicare, not Medicaid, but Medicare would also be affected. That like 3 million people at least would lose Medicare, and then like 5 million would lose SNAP, and then like 11 million. But aside from the CBO report, now we know from many other reports and even updated CBO reports that number is way higher. It's between 16 and 17 million Americans, and they're saying that the people that will see double or triple or even quadruple pricing, skyrocketing pricing, it's gonna be at least 25 million people across the nation. Not to mention that is because 25 million people get their healthcare through the ACA marketplace, the Obamacare marketplace. So that's a lot of people. 25 million could see at least double, if not triple, or even more higher prices. Who the hell is going to be able to afford that? And then again, in general, people that are in the private, right now, the private health insurance option that use private healthcare could see at least an 18% increase in their premiums. At least. That's kind of like a starting point, because it could be way worse. And now we even heard, saw in the news, the media, that the Trump administration is even asking insurance companies to not disclose how much or when they are going to increase prices. The same thing that they did with Amazon or even other companies, asking them, or even the car companies, the auto industry. Donald Trump held a call with the automakers, and he told them, you better not increase prices after I slap all these tariffs on the auto industry. You better not raise your prices. So you have the president of the United States telling companies how to price their products and what to take as a loss. Well, I'm going to increase this, so you better take this as a loss. But again, the CBO told Congress, this is what's going to happen. And this is an office, like I said, they're generally trusted because the CBO tries to give Congress and even the country the most balanced information that we can get, coming from both parties joining forces, studying an issue, and then coming up with a report that they all sign on. They're all telling us, hey, these are the facts. Regardless of red or blue or who you support, these are the facts. And this is how it's going to affect the country. Expert, economists, political analysts, everybody warned Congress for weeks, if not months, what was going to happen if Donald Trump's plan went ahead with the big, beautiful bill, same as with tariffs. And then you see Republicans changing the narrative, so many times, like as time goes by, first of all, they were like, oh, we're not touching Medicaid at all. No, we're not going to touch it. Trump was promising. No, I told Mike Johnson, I asked John Thune in the Senate, don't touch Medicaid. That's my order. I'm telling them Medicaid is not going to be touched. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to touch it. We're just going to cut budgets somewhere else. But yeah, we're not touching Medicaid. But then they went from that, we're not touching Medicaid, to, well, yes, we are cutting Medicaid, but only for those who are committing fraud. Of course. without any proof of widespread fraud when it comes to Medicaid, just a claim, other than a claim, which is usually what Trump and Republicans will do. Just say something, keep repeating it. We don't care if it's true or not. We just want to create an alternative narrative that people can, relate to. If they want to just defend us, then our people, our influencers, our far-right influencers will start repeating the same thing all over again. And then, it's just kind of like a wash, yeah. Both parties lie, or both parties are giving us conflicting information. Let's just not even pay attention to it. The same thing they did with tariffs. With the tariffs, Trump went on, from saying, we don't pay the tariffs. We're not going to pay the tariffs. The other countries pay the tariffs, right? That's what Trump was saying. But then he was quoted saying, we have audio of this or even video saying, well, I suggest that Walmart and Home Depot and China eat the tariffs. They shouldn't increase the prices. They should eat the tariffs. Why should Home Depot and Walmart eat the tariffs if we don't pay the tariffs as a country? So it's been conflicting information, conflicting statements, and they keep just changing the narrative. Then Donald Trump even told Amazon, I don't want you including the tariff increase in the receipts. You know that both companies and even Amazon, a bunch of corporations, they were completely concerned about this. Walmart apparently wanted to do it, a bunch of others. And Donald Trump was mad. The White House came out with some, very extreme direct messaging. And he was warning the companies, you better not put on the receipts the tariff increase for people to know. Of course, that's going to tell people, hey, we are paying the tariffs. Why would Amazon freaking want to put that on the receipt if you don't pay for that? Who was going to collect that money? Where was that going to go? Do you think Amazon was just trying to get sued, by the U.S. government for, fraud, for charging customers for a tariff that actually never existed? Who was going to get that money? Of course, they had to do it because the tariffs are real and Americans pay the tariffs. But it's sad because this is what they do, and this is how they change the narrative. So Trump went from, no, we're never going to pay the tariffs. It's going to be China is going to be paying for those tariffs. But then he was telling Amazon, you better not put that on the receipt. Then Trump said the tariffs would make us great, and we're gonna earn so much money. It's gonna be trillions of dollars. But now he's talking about bailing out both the auto industry and the farmers, because we know both industries are in a very bad state. They're suffering. I've seen reporting of farmers again unfortunately taking their lives. And Americans in general are suffering in the same way because nothing has gotten better. And hey, I'm trying to be objective and, balanced. I'm just not trying to just say negative stuff just because I don't support Trump, because I'm a Democrat, I'm a progressive. This is the reality. If I don't know, beef was half the price, or coffee was half the price, or if rent was down 20, 30%, or home prices down 30, 40%. I was just reading a news article yesterday of how the real estate industry is almost about to collapse, but the prices are not going down. So that's a very strange thing, and I wouldn't even be surprised if Trump comes up with a bailout for the real estate industry too. But right now they're floating already. Trump openly said that he is coming up with a bailout, a rescue package for farmers. He did this the first time around. You guys know he was, he came up with the tariffs, and farmers literally went broke. We had literally a bunch of farmers taking their lives during his first term. And since it was a disaster, it became so bad that eventually Trump came up, if I'm not mistaken, the number was with a $28 billion rescue plan for farmers. And not even that, was enough. Now we know they are the same, if not worse, than the first time around. And many of them are being even bought out, or some of the bigger corporations or businesses are trying to buy out some of these farmers. Some people are saying that that's what's behind all of this. They want all these farmers to go broke so that Trump's top donors and top companies and friends can come in and buy a bunch of land too. That may be part of it. But the thing is that it's a disaster. And now Trump is also talking about bailing out the auto industry. They're floating that. There's reporting about that too. So you see how the goalpost is always being, moved depending on what they want to say at any given time. But the reality is that they tell you one thing today and then tomorrow they're going to change it. And that, to a certain degree, is what we're seeing here from, Marjorie Taylor Greene when she's saying, hey, groceries are not cheaper, rent is not cheaper, home prices are not cheaper. And she's right. Groceries are up, inflation is up, unemployment is up, car prices are up, car manufacturers are saying that they have lost billions during the last quarter. We have reporting saying that part of the country is already in a recession. Houses are still unaffordable. Like electricity and water bills are up. Appliances and furniture are up. And like I said, coffee and meat are through the roof right now. I'm always, kind of like burning and joking with my oldest brother because he's a Trump follower. He's a MAGA activist. And he's also a carnivore. So I'm like, bro, is your wallet happy? Because that's what he will always say. I don't care. You're telling me all these things about crime and Trump and him being a convicted felon. I care about my wallet. That's what he'll always tell me. And I'm like, how's your wallet doing right now? Is your wallet happy right now? Because you're a carnivore. I think you're going to become a vegetarian very soon at the pace things are going. I think I'm gonna watch your transition. You're gonna become a trans from carnivore. You're gonna transition to vegetarian because you voted for Trump and now you can't afford your juicy steaks that you love to eat, at breakfast or lunch or even a dinner. So that's the reality. Prices and everything, it's just going up. Some of them are skyrocketing. And we were warned about these things before Trump took office. Experts told us about the economy. They told us it would suffer, that the tariffs would make everything more expensive, that the big, beautiful bill would be a disaster. But guys, aside from all of this, I have to say that even though Marjorie Taylor Greene is playing politics to a certain degree here, and even though she enabled Trump and she voted for the big, beautiful bill, the reality is that we need more people trying to help right now. We're down to literally our last opportunity to stop this from becoming a reality. Because if not January 1st, guys, these prices are going to hit in 2026. So we barely have 2.5 months to fix this, to stop it. And it's okay if someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, if they want to change their position at this point, just like many Republicans are doing so with regard to the Epstein files, and now with healthcare, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, if some of them finally want to join forces and join the Democrats and saying, hey, let's set politics aside for a second, the reality is that the American people are not going to be able to afford double or triple healthcare, skyrocketing cost. We have to stop this. So if Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to help now, she wants to raise awareness and, draw a line in the sand with her party. Even though I was unhappy at first when I heard her talking about this, because she enabled this in the first place, but I understand that really doesn't matter now. We shouldn't be demanding purity tests at this point. We need more voices warning of the real consequences, that this is not a partisan message, that healthcare is going to double, triple, or even quadruple. That's not partisan. That's a reality. So we have to welcome voices like Marjorie Taylor Greene, warning that the consequences of not extending the ACA subsidies are going to be really bad, and that we need to stop these crazy Medicaid cuts and the outrageous price increases that will follow very soon. And I mentioned Brian Tyler Cohen. By the way, Brian Tyler Cohen launched a Spanish channel. So if you speak Spanish, or even if you don't, just to support independent media, please visit Brian Tyler Cohen Español and subscribe to, his Spanish channel. like the videos, comment, share them. I also host a Spanish podcast myself, so if you can, please visit Aranzamendi Podcast Español and subscribe and join the movement there. Leave a comment, leave a like. We really appreciate your support. And now we need it more than ever when we know traditional media is just trying to both side every single issue. They're trying to please Trump, to appease him, to avoid being attacked by Trump, to avoid having Trump talk to his FCC guy and telling him to just take licenses away or whatever. So we know we're not gonna get the content that we need to get from traditional media, at least not consistently. So independent media is now more important than ever. So please go and support Brian Tyler Cohen's English channel, his Spanish channel, Brian Tyler Cohen Español. And also, please subscribe here, like, and comment. And also go to my Spanish channel, Aranzamendi Podcast Español, and support the channel there too. So let's listen to this video by Brian Tyler Cohen, where he was literally talking about this whole thing with what's going on, the shutdown, Marjorie Taylor Greene in a different moment or instance, talking also about breaking lines with the party and, criticizing certain things. So let's go to that video and we'll be right back to wrap it up, okay?
In a completely unexpected move today, Marjorie Taylor Greene just took to Twitter, issuing the following blow to Trump, Mike Johnson, and the rest of the GOP struggling to find their footing as Americans blame them for the ongoing shutdown. She wrote, quote, "I was not in Congress when all this Obamacare Affordable Care Act bullshit started. I got here in 2021. As a matter of fact, the ACA made health insurance unaffordable for my family after it was passed, with skyrocketing premiums higher than our house payment. Let's just say, as nicely as possible, I'm not a fan, but I'm going to go against everyone on this issue because when the tax credits expire this year, my own adult children's insurance premiums for 2026 are going to double, along with all the wonderful families and hardworking people in my district. No, I'm not towing the party line on this or playing loyalty games. I'm a Republican and won't vote for illegals to have any taxpayer-funded health care or benefits. I'm America only, I'm carving my own lane, and I'm absolutely disgusted that health insurance premiums will double if the tax credits expire this year. Also, I think health insurance and all insurance is a scam, just to be clear. Not a single Republican in leadership talked to us about this or has given us a plan to help Americans deal with their health insurance premiums doubling." Now, there are obviously some problematic elements of this, like this mistaken notion that even a dime of ACA subsidies or any federal funding for healthcare goes toward undocumented immigrants, but that notwithstanding, when even Marjorie Taylor Greene is able to read the tea leaves and acknowledge the objective reality about her own party's position, it becomes clear that they are losing the plot. And look, we should all welcome any and all voices who agree with us that healthcare premiums should not double, but the reality is that Greene is simply following the very obvious polling on this issue. According to Kaiser Family Foundation polling, Americans want Congress to extend the expiring Affordable Care Act credits by a staggering 78% to 22% margin. Nearly 8 in 10 Americans side with the Democrats here, and the reason why is beyond simple. If Republicans get their way, the ACA subsidies will expire at the end of this year, and that means for the 24 million Americans who get their health care through the ACA marketplace, prices will increase as much as 4 times what they are right now. 4 times more expensive. Senator Warnock has been sharing screen grabs from his constituents showing the difference between 2025 and 2026 prices. One tweet showed, for example, that $307 turns into $964. Another one shows $228 turning into $1,142. So unless your entire identity is just blindly supporting Trump's every whim or just trafficking in straight chaos, I cannot imagine who is out there rooting for healthcare prices to go through the roof. What's even more striking, though, is that Greene's comments come as Mike Johnson, acting per usual as a puppet for Dear Leader, came out and said this.
So they created a red herring. A red herring is a distraction. They decided that they would pick a fight on healthcare. Well, let me look right into the camera and tell you very clearly, Republicans are the ones concerned about healthcare. Republicans are the party working around the clock every day to fix healthcare. This is not talking points for us. We've done it. A big part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, was to fix healthcare. Healthcare is broken in America. It's too expensive. The quality of care needs to rise. We need more access for more people, and we have lots of ideas to do that. But that issue is for debate in the next 3 months. It always was. We have members working on that.
Right, Mike. When even Marjorie Taylor Greene is able to call you out on this bullshit, I'm not sure who you think you're convincing. Also, I'm sorry, but Republicans are the ones who fixed health.
Yeah, that sounds outrageous. Republicans are never actually helping when it comes to healthcare. You know, we're still waiting for Donald Trump's. I remember we were waiting for Donald Trump's concepts of a plan. Remember, he was confronted during the last debate with Kamala Harris, I think it was, during the debate, and they asked him, hey, you know, you've been talking about healthcare since 2015 when you were starting to run for president. And it's 2024. Do you have something for us this time? Do you already have something to replace the Affordable Care Act or, you know, the Obamacare? And it's like, oh yeah, we got concepts of a plan, and the concepts of a plan are actually becoming a reality. And the concepts of a plan was, we're not changing shit, and we're gonna cut Medicaid, and we're gonna cut SNAP, and we're gonna cut Medicare, and we don't care. We don't give a shit if prices skyrocket, if they double, if they triple, they quadruple. We don't give a shit. That's what Trump said. So even when it comes to Donald Trump himself, 10 years later, he started campaigning for this in 2015, talking about Obamacare and replacing it. He had something better. 10 fucking years. And he still doesn't have a clue on how to make healthcare more affordable and better for the American people. We're the richest country, and I don't know, somehow we always find billions of dollars more for the Department of War, the Department of Defense, for the military, for Argentina, for Javier Milei. $20 fucking billion for Javier Milei for nothing, just because he is Donald Trump's best friend forever. But we can't find a way. You know, I wish Donald Trump is declaring the war on everything. War on trans, war on mailing ballots, you know, the war on illegal migrants, the war on whatever you can think of. He's declaring war on everything, right? On drug dealers, on the cartels, whatever. When is he gonna fucking declare a war on healthcare rising costs that are skyrocketing and people just can't afford to live in this country? And Bernie Sanders will always talk about this and saying, we are, you know, the top country, the richest country, and the biggest countries in the world already have way better healthcare, even healthcare for all systems in their countries, and they do better than us. I'm not going to say they're perfect. I'm not going to say that healthcare is perfect in any other country. Perfect. But it's affordable. At least it's affordable, and it works. There's many reports out there that many of these systems, even though they have also shortcomings and they may fail in certain areas, at least people don't have to, you know, just lose an arm, cut an arm off to be able to go and afford a freaking doctor visit or some medication. Or you don't have companies just charging 2,000, 3,000, 10,000% more for the same medication here in the States. That's what we don't want to have, but that's what we have. And Donald Trump is never talking about changing this. Oh yeah, we have concepts of a plan. Yeah, just don't hold your breath waiting for that to become a reality. So guys, in summary, this is why voting for the right bill, you know, matters. Voting or voting against it. Because the big beautiful bill, Marjorie Taylor Greene should have voted against that bill. And that's why we have this problem right now. Now she wants to reverse engineer this whole shit, this whole thing, this whole chaos, and somehow, obviously, champion lowering healthcare costs. But she was part of the problem back then, at least. I'm going to give her a little bit of credit. I'm going to give her a pass and say, hey, we're so desperate to stop this abuse that it's going to be really bad that I'm willing to, be joined by anyone right now. If she wants to join us right now in raising awareness and saying, hey, I was wrong, whatever happened. Now I believe we should change this, or we should fix this, or we should realize that the cost of living in general, because that's what she said on that video, that across the board, housing is not more affordable, rent is not more affordable, gas, grocery prices are not more affordable. Healthcare is definitely not more affordable, and it's about to, double, triple, or even worse. So that's why you want to vote for the right bill. This is why you want to listen to all the feedback. This is why you want to stop and say, hey, let me listen to Democrats, because yes, I know they want to win. Yes, I know they want to take power, but they may also be telling the truth. And I'm not saying the Democrats are perfect or that the Democratic Party is, the solution to everything. But when it comes to a lot of these issues, they're always on the right side of history. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, as most Republicans, they were on the wrong side of history. Now at least she's trying to get on the right side and, I don't know, maybe setting herself up for a victory in 2026. Maybe, I don't care if that's the thing, if that's the way she wants to do this. Good for her. I don't care. But at least she's joining forces right now with Democrats and saying we need to change this. So that's why you want to listen to the feedback before you make a vote. Remember that she even said that there was a provision in the bill, the big beautiful bill. It wasn't even about healthcare. She was asking the Senate to change the AI provision that would give companies like 10 years before any law could be passed regarding AI. So like the states would not be able to change something. So now after she voted, she said, hey, I want to backtrack. Can you please change that in the Senate? It was a mistake. I shouldn't have voted for this, but I did. Boy, man. Why would you vote for a bill that you haven't been able, you weren't able to read? And she's like, well, they gave us this, with half an hour before the vote, and it was what, 900 pages or I don't know how many pages. That's why you say fucking no. I'm not gonna vote for this. If you want my vote, I need to read this. I need to analyze this with my legal team. I want to analyze this with the people from my state and make sure this is not gonna hurt my people, my constituents. And I hope Congress learns its lesson too. That they stop rubber stamping everything Trump is asking for, only to try to stop it later when, unfortunately, it's too late in some cases. I don't think that's the best way to go about how to help the American people. Yeah, let's just rubber stamp everything Trump asks. Let's just vote everything, yes, vote yes on everything. And then, I don't know, whenever things are about, shit is about to hit the fan, then at that point, I may see if I can just switch positions and tell the people that I'm against the increase that I actually voted for. I don't think that's the best way to do that. The big, beautiful bill, unfortunately, it's law. It was approved. Trump signed it into law. Now we have a government shutdown, which is part of it, which probably wouldn't have happened if that bill had not been passed. Because that is what the government shutdown is about. Healthcare prices that would skyrocket in 2026 unless we fix this now by extending the ACA subsidies. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, right? Do you think Marjorie Taylor Greene is being honest? Do you think she's just playing politics, trying to avoid the fallout in the midterms in 2026? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. I'll read and respond to your comments later. Thank you for tuning in. That's all for today. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode, okay? So take care.